I've been coding for 5 years now. Kind of crazy, to be honest. I want to reflect on all these years and take you step by step on my journey and every piece of technology that I've learned up to today. But before I show you where I am today, first we have to go back to where it all began. The year was 2003. Tom Anderson had just dropped the hottest social media platform to ever exist, MySpace. Now, I didn't discover this platform till about late 2007 when I was around 13 years old. MySpace was the edgy social media platform of the time. I mean, I could rate my friends from favorite to least favorite, and if one of them got out of line, I put them in their place by moving them from slot 1 to slot 5. Also, when you came to my page, it started blurring songs that a 13-year-old probably shouldn't be listening to. Regardless, why was this a pivotal moment in my development as a software engineer? And the answer's simple. It was the first time I was ever exposed to code. Not only was I wearing oversized t-shirts and etnies, I was flexing on all my middle school friends by making the hottest MySpace page that any 13-year-old has ever seen. All with the help of basic HTML and inline CSS. I had no idea what I was doing at the time, but it damn sure worked. A model that I still live by to this day. Over the course of my teenage years, I'd be exposed to coding many more times. Through the likes of running a Minecraft server at age 15, to when I took my first Visual Basics class in high school at age 16, and Intro to Java shortly after. After high school, I gave up on the idea of coding for about a year. That was until I found a group in my community known as the Coding Club. At this point, I was 19 years old and I took on coding again. I downloaded Eclipse, nonstop watched Minecraft plugin tutorials learning Java so I could figure out how to make the hottest Minecraft server to ever exist. Not to mention, I also became obsessed with parallax scrolling websites and even made a few of my own using some basic JavaScript. Now, this was all before landing my first programming job. I would consider this portion of my life the BC portion to my coding days, before I took on programming as a career. Shortly after joining the Coding Club, I ended up landing my first internship, which leads me to the next part of the story, the birth of my programming career. Now, this is where I'm going to do my absolute best at recalling every single piece of technology that I've worked on over the last 5 years. 2016. To start things off, when I got offered my first internship, I had 1 month before actually starting the job. I was under the interpretation that I was going to be doing web dev at this internship, so for that whole month, I learned everything that I thought I needed to learn about web development at the time. My dad recommended me a course on Udemy called the Complete Web Developer course. From this course, in that 1 month, I became familiar with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, PHP, MySQL, and Bootstrap. I was no expert, but I tried to learn as much about these topics as I could. When I started my internship, the very first project I was thrown onto was a mobile app. This mobile app was developed on a platform known as Appery.io, which essentially is a toolkit on top of the Apache Cordova framework. From here, I used some basic JavaScript to build a cross-platform mobile application. Shortly after, I was put on another cross-platform mobile application using Xamarin. From here, I became familiar with C#. After realizing Xamarin wasn't going to fit our mobile application needs, we actually ended up scraping that project and building the app natively in Android. And this was around the time where my internship turned into a part-time job. I worked on Android apps using Java. I was also tasked with writing PHP scripts and communicating with a MySQL server. Start of 2017. I'd been at my coding job for a whole year now. After finishing the MVP version of our Android application, the next task was to write the same exact application, but in iOS. And this was where I was first exposed to Swift and iOS development, and my Android experience definitely helped me catch on pretty quickly. I worked at this first programming job for about 18 months, and it's safe to say I kind of became a jack of all trades, but a master of none. May 2017. I wanted to focus my efforts entirely on native mobile development and get really good at that. May of 2017, I found my first entry-level full-time programming job as an Android developer. And for the rest of 2017, this is pretty much all I did. I wrote Android apps using Java. And I'd say this is where I became intimately familiar with Java. Also, I think it's important to mention that this is around the time when I became familiar with Git, Gitflow, and Agile development. 2018. End of 2017 is when Google officially announced its full support to develop Android apps in using Kotlin. To be honest, I was a bit skeptical at first, but my company ended up jumping on board and we started doing all future development in Kotlin. And not gonna lie, kind of fell in love with the language. During 2018, I got promoted to what my company considered a mid-level developer. 2019, a pivotal moment in my life. I pretty much kept up my efforts in building Android apps using Kotlin. There were some instances where I had to jump on some Xamarin, C# code, and even some .NET code, but for the most part, I was solely working on Android apps. Now, the end of 2019 was a very pivotal moment in my life. I was approaching 24 years old, and I had this overwhelming feeling to leave my hometown and move on to bigger adventures. August of 2019, I applied to various mobile development jobs in Chicago. A couple weeks and a couple offers later, I'd found a new role, again for an Android development role. End of 2019, the day of my 24th birthday, my girlfriend and I packed up my apartment and moved to Chicago. Start of 2020, more Android development and more Kotlin. I also got pretty familiar with Firebase. At this point, I know the ins and outs of native Android development, and I'd say I accomplished my goal that I set out in 2017 of becoming really good at one thing. March 2020. Coronavirus hit and priorities at my company shifted a bit. I was assigned a project working with Node.js and AWS cloud services. I spent the rest of 2020 working on this project and becoming decent at JavaScript, Node.js, and AWS. To be honest, it was a nice break from mobile development. I really enjoyed working on the back end. Not having to worry about a UI feels great. 2021. And that brings us to where I am today. If you follow my videos, you know I recently took on a personal goal of learning React. I've also been diving into Android again. Man, it's a trip to look back on my past and recall everything that I've worked on and everything that I've learned along the way. If there's any takeaways from this video, I guess it's if you're working as a dev, be ready for rapid change and constantly learning new things. If you're new to this industry, that may seem scary at first, but it's actually very exciting. Programming is a very rewarding career path, and you never know where it's gonna take you. Be open to new tech, new ideas, be humble, but enjoy your journey. That's all I got for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and sub. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.